All right, welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, here with Thomas Arnal.
G'day.
And Michael Downey.
All right.
We are back for another one, Olympic special, probably our last one. Maybe not. We should do the women's final, which is tonight, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's tonight
at the
3 a.m.
time of recording.
Time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So by the time this comes out, it will have probably already happened. So we can cover that on Tuesday or Wednesday when it comes out. But today we are here to talk about the men's basketball finals, the main event, the big one. It's what everyone's been waiting for, all Olympics long. A rematch of the first game
rematch
from Group A.
True.
Second game from Group A. France versus the USA for all the marbles. It was a grand affair. The Queen was there. She wasn't. The President of America was there.
She could have made an effort.
The French,
for the Queen to be there.
the French monarch was there. They weren't.
Yeah.
And so
We must have been somewhere.
And so was the Prime Minister. He wasn't. He was in
The
France.
French monarch was somewhere.
On planet Earth.
Yeah.
Just Find My Phone. You'll find them. Is it a king or queen you've got right now? I know they don't do anything, but
Wait, who? Us?
France. Yeah, you still got a monarch.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
We
you.
kill them.
Oh no, sorry.
Sure.
France has a president and a prime minister. That's
Yeah, we
always
got a
gets me.
president and a prime minister. President gets elected. He then nominates a prime minister, and then usually it's like in football. You know, the president's president, the prime minister is your coach, and then the coach / prime minister does everything, and then when
Right.
things go wrong, first one to get out.
Is the
It's the
president
same.
or the prime minister?
The prime minister. It's like then usually the president goes, "I've got full faith into my prime minister's ability." That means you're gone. You know, same thing in football. It's like once you get a president.
I feel like
It's the same shit.
Monaco should have like a king or queen, just like
Monaco's a monarchy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, they actually
not-
do. I just meant like whoever's like living it largest, queen or king
Yeah.
of Monaco.
Wild, totally wild.
Technically, they're not part of France. They are their own thing.
Yeah,
They
so
got their own thing going on.
Principality.
Yeah.
All right.
After
So,
that,
Wow.
geography,
After that,
there you go.
bit of
There you
history / politics. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
see?
done well.
Yeah, so France, USA, finally, the final. Good game, I thought. I thought it was a good
Yes.
game.
all over the place, right? You
Yeah.
think it's done? It's not done. It's done. No, yeah, it's done. All right.
few pump fakes, few jab steps, hezzies. Yeah, I think it started off. France took an early lead.
Classic.
KD then cut into it as he does. He had like 12 of USA's first 18 points. And then when did things turn? Was it the second or the third?
Second. Oh, you mean in second
First
quarter?
turn?
When did
First
the
turn, you mean?
USA take the lead initially?
First quarter.
Okay.
End of the first.
Right.
End of the
right,
first.
right.
Yes.
So that happened. Gobert was also dominant early. I think he was 6 for 6 from the field in the first quarter.
Mhm.
He was only 5 for 5 for the whole game, I think.
He's on
all
5 for 5 for the
dunks.
whole game. Yeah.
All dunks.
All dunks.
Yeah.
But you could tell that like Team USA didn't have an answer for him. Like KD was having to guard him. Yeah. Draymond, got a few fouls trying to guard him. And they continued with their switching defense, but he was the answer to that basically. They'd switch, and then he'd be on like Devin Booker, and it was just like barbecue chicken.
He's just too big, man. He's just way too big.
Way too big. That led to a lot of fouls. There was a lot of Team USA players that had fouls early. And then, so, well,
Did you crush your stats?
No, I'm on the wrong page. Never mind. So Team USA took the lead going into the second quarter. Do you want to pick things up from there, Tom?
No, I'm still dreaming. You carry on.
All right. And then they slightly stretched that lead in the second quarter as well. I think, was it the second or the third when Tatum started to get going? But he started to pick up some of the slack with Durant sitting and continued to keep the USA on top. Team USA then slightly stretched their lead in the third quarter again. It was all close. The first quarter was won by 4 points, then 1 point in the second, then 3 points in the third. So it reached like a comfortable 10-point-ish lead in the second half. And then I think Rudy Gobert goes out with like 8 minutes to play in the fourth.
Oh, with this fifth foul? No.
It wasn't foul trouble. They just took him out to rest.
They took him out, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And he was gone for 4 whole minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, that is a very long time to be without arguably your best player. I don't know what
biggest problem for the US here.
Yeah. And that's not to say that France didn't play well in that period, because they did. Fall came in and was giving Team USA the exact same problems. He wasn't scoring as much, but in terms of, I think at first when Gobert went out, Team USA was like, oh, we can attack the rim. And then it was just like, no, you can't attack the rim. Like, it's another 7-footer down there and he's going to stop you. And that's what he did. So he gave good minutes, more so defensively. He only had 4 points, 2 shots, but again, 100% from the field. And yeah, I mean, weirdly for me, I think if Gobert makes his free throws, France could win this game.
Is it the moment when I jump in to talk about the stats?
Feel free.
Because if you look at the stats, right? So if you look at the shooting, France shot better. Okay, it's 47-46, but that's still right.
Yeah.
It's sort of even.
Yeah.
2-point shots, 63-61. Just massively high numbers for a final, right? 63 and 61 is unbelievable. France shot 32% for 3, and Team USA 28. So again, like all the numbers are, okay, it's very tight, but it's the same. Then where it hurts is free throws, because France went 18 for 29 and Team USA went 14 for 21. So Team USA still shot 67 and France 62. But usually France is one of the teams that has a better average shooting free throws. So you've got 18 for 29. Let's say you make another 6, they go 24, another 5, 23 for 26, for 29. That's usually what they would hit. And it's like, just making free throws that would have made, I'm not saying they would have won, of course, it's impossible to say, but like it'd have been a hell of a lot closer. And then if you look at the stats across that, like France grabbed more rebounds, I think 41-34, more assists, 22-18. Fouls, Team USA made more fouls. That the second stat that killed us, turnovers, 18-9.
That's what I was going to say.
And then steals, 3-9. So obviously turnovers, they have more steals. And then the other stat, 5 blocks to 0 for France. 5 blocks for Team USA, 0 for France. Where usually France is doing those Olympics have performed really well with blocks. Like for example, the semifinals where we had 8 blocks. Obviously, it was 4 and 4. Batum and Gobert. But it's like across all the games, we protected the rim really well, and that's really odd that in this one it's like
0 blocks. Yeah, that's
0 blocks. Well, it's weird, and it's not because they don't really attack the rim that much, right?
Well, exactly. I mean that's the thing. They did that job without having to do that job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like Team USA they're too savvy to just keep on hammering it to the basket if they're going to get blocked.
Yeah.
And you saw some bad sort of layup attempts that were going in because they were scared they were going to get blocked.
So.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. But even like throughout the tournament, Team USA has pretty much been driving to kick. So when they went in, it's like they weren't even, a lot of the time they weren't even looking at the rim. Like they would drive in and immediately look out to the perimeter and see what they had created by beating their man.
And do you see the shooting shot? So where basically Team USA has a nice mix of in the paint threes, but also mid-range. Like they've got 10 mid-range, and France actually took only 4, which is usually one of our
strong suits.
Strong fit. Yeah, like we usually do really well with that. Like the Colo takes a lot of like free throw sort of around the free throw line, mid-range. So it's really odd that, well, I guess it's not, because that's where Team USA's defense will be, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things again that you would have hoped to see a little bit more, but again, that's how it was. That's the defenses took over a bit of this one. But
yeah. It was touch and go at the end. It did get really close. All of a sudden, France got desperate, started throwing up shots and getting fouled, and started to eat into the double-digit lead. Fournier hit a 3 late. I think De Colo had a bucket late as well.
Ntilikina brought it back to within 3 in the first place.
Yeah.
With the 3.
Yeah.
With the 3. Yeah.
Smokemeister.
Yeah.
And immediately turned the boil over the next game.
Yeah, the next possession. Yeah.
I'm still thinking like we have a very good team. I think there's a couple players on there I would have swapped for another couple players that are probably performing better in EuroLeague. Like you couldn't predict that Frank would pick up a muscle injury before flying into Tokyo. So it's like it's too late for a change. But I would have loved to see another point guard there. I don't think. I've lost my faith a long time with him, so I don't. The last good game I've seen him play was literally against Team USA, right?
In the World Cup.
In the World Cup 2019. That's the last good game I've seen him do.
I guess it's a good point though, like because obviously we heard a lot about that 17-year-old sort of phenom.
We'll keep him for Paris 2024. He'll be there.
But I mean. You guys have obviously got like quite a good range of prospects that are going to be coming through. Would you rather have seen? Because I guess it was a bit of an older squad.
No, it's too early. So they have history as well. It's there's a bunch of players on there that that's what we do well though in France. Like we manage to bring in new generations of players and still make them get them to mix with the older generation and take over from them. But apart from the 17-year-old guy that you're mentioning is he's just he's too skinny, he's too young, he's not ready, and he already played the the World Cup,
the under-19
World Cup that you can't.
He's already drop out of that.
And also he just signed for our team, and it's like I'm sure they went, no, you gotta chill now, please. just rest, put on some muscles, just get in the gym. Literally, he needs to get in the gym, but not the gym to play basketball.
17, man, come on.
17.
He'll be fine.
No. I don't think him. There's a bunch more. There's a couple other players that play in EuroLeague, play EuroLeague basketball that could have joined in. That could have been better suited. Obviously, we had a couple injuries as well, but they did well. Like they were 0-3 in the friendly games before the Olympics. They lost to Japan, they lost to Spain twice, maybe. Yeah, twice. So, friendly games means nothing basically.
No,
because France lost all their friendly games, and then Team USA did horrible by their standards. Yeah. So and there were 2 teams that ended up in the finals. So it's like, again, there's a bunch of people on social media that were like, stop judging teams on friendlies. There's no point.
It's exactly why you play friendlies, right? Like
because you put stuff in, you rehearse things,
figure out what your team is, get them to build a bit of chemistry, because you're assuming that it's not there. So I mean, I do think that the US probably do take it a bit too casually. But they've won gold again, so I don't know if that's going to change now. Right?
It's just the way things were put together, right? Like normally there would have been 3 or 4 weeks between the end of the NBA season and the start of the Olympic camp. So there would have been more time, whereas this time, like players literally got on the plane straight out of the finals. Like
and that was after all of the exhibition games, right? Like
the
team that they knew wasn't the final team playing the exhibition games.
Exactly. And then like someone like JaVale McGee was called in and wasn't there for any of it, right? So the preparations weren't ideal. Bradley Beal getting COVID, like they just weren't able to put together what they needed to put together. And yeah, they finally found some chemistry through the rounds and managed to win the gold again.
There's that, and I think they worked out. It's what they say about like the football tournaments as well, that you play yourself into form in the early rounds, and you should be hitting your full stride at the end, and that's exactly what they've ended up doing. I think that they were figuring it out, and like it became clear that Durant was going to be their option A. And I think that's what they needed to have. They needed to have, okay, this is our option A. We've got our other options after that. And you see that with the other international teams, whether it be like a very obvious one with like Luka or Spain with Rubio, like it's clear that they have that and that's their go-to. And they bring other people in sort of when it's appropriate, right?
Yeah. It's by the way, before I go into my stuff, shout out to McGee. Yeah, his mom won the Olympics in '84, gold, and then the son. There you go.
First mother son gold.
That's pretty cool. I thought that's pretty cool.
Is it?
Yeah. First time a mother and son have won gold.
I thought that's pretty cool, and he's getting quite a collection. Yeah, McGee's like.
I'm telling you,
that guy is like
top 30, there. And he's not 30.
right. He's always there at the right time, right place. It's unbelievable. No, with Team USA is what you say. It's basically the friendly games. It was almost they were just glorified training sessions, right, for them, because they didn't have the team that they actually flew to Tokyo to, right? They had a bunch of players that were added in. There were a bunch of players that didn't make it, and then anyway for them it doesn't mean much, right? But for most of the teams in friendly games, it doesn't really mean anything.
The result doesn't mean.
The result. That's what I mean. The result. No, the like rehearsing stuff, like running plays and making sure that people understand where they're supposed to be at what time. That's what it's for. But they didn't have the one thing they didn't have is what we said after they lost to France. It's like they don't know who's doing what on that team just yet. And like you said, KD has to be that option number one. Then I think they went option number 2 and 3 together, where Tatum and Booker, I think they were like the other 2 offensive players rather taking over when KD was on the bench, and then they had Drew Holiday, who was then the two-way guy. Sorry, that was just like can play defense, can play offense with the other guys, and that's what we're saying after the first round is that to me he's the perfect player for this type of games, FIBA basketball, because that's the sort of American guys that we see in Europe. It's like can play defense. And then if you need somebody to score, can do it too. And like physically, shorter than the other guys and like quite massive, well built. That's the sort of point guards you get in Europe. It's like this type of guys, especially in the French league as well. We get these guys like that, but not to the same level, obviously. But the sort of mentality, that's what we get. That's why I say he's well tailored for that type of play and that type of competition.
He was excellent in the tournament.
They figured it out eventually, and they knew who did what. My only thing with them is obviously you can tell they're not a team, like a proper team, like other, like we say Australia, that's got Patty Mills and they build around that. But it's not the same chemistry. Obviously, it's impossible to build in, 4 weeks they were together, less, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it showed a lot. Like I watched pretty much every single game in the men's basketball, and it's like every single bench, every single team, like when there's an N1, when there's like something that happens, somebody else scores, like the bench are going wild, and it's like, and it wasn't really there on the Team USA's part. Again, not their fault, but it's funny to see that, like he wasn't sure there, like everybody was there. Let's do our thing. Let's trying to get to the gold medal game and win it. It's just it's a pity for them. It felt like a bit like, not even say robotic, but it felt like it was like we don't know how to. Live with one another. It's just weird. It's just weird. It's like when you see the Olympic spirit of other teams, and it's like it means a lot for them. It felt a bit off with Team USA. It's not a critic. It's just like something I picked up on. I was like, oh, you can clearly tell they've not been together for too long. Right?
Well, that's it. Like their national identity as a basketball team is they are the most talented team. They kind of start off every tournament fresh with how we're going to play, who's going to take what role on, and and that just doesn't happen in other roles. They know who's going to be the leading scorer. They know what part they're playing and what sort of systems they're going to play, which is it's just what Team USA are lacking. And again, they have overcome this because they are so immensely talented. You can't look past that. But I think that we're starting to see that other teams are talented enough and have that other side of things there, that they're catching up, and it's going to become harder and harder every time they go into.
Yeah, which takes me to that lovely video that KD had on Instagram when he went on to. Did you guys see it?
I haven't.
When he's walking with
Draymond, and he went like, Kendrick Perkins, man. And I was like, this is something that and I said on Twitter, I was like, damn, he's one of the best basketball player I've ever seen. Like, amazing, but like, what a trash human being. Like, the first thing, like, you won the freaking gold medal. Like, and it's not the first time he does that. Like, he's always so fucking petty online. It's like, dude, like, what do you, man? Just forget about it.
But that's him.
I think I can guess, but what's the context here?
No, actually, it was just because obviously Kendrick Perkins said, "Oh, you know, they're trash. They're not going to win it." Blah blah. Pretty much what everybody said at the time. But and obviously KD went like, obviously the first thing that came out was he was not doing the Instagram live. Was like, oh, you know, F Kendrick Perkins. You know, keep running your mouth, keep talking shit. You know, we hear. But then it was like, oh, talking about how the rest of the world is catching up, and you know, and it's like, no, man. It's, you know, with pure talent over here. Something I can't remember exactly what I'm saying. Like, come on, man. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, and that's the thing I'm saying with NBA players. Like, the top 20 players, 25, absolutely, like, you know, better than anyone else in the world. Absolutely fine. There's a bunch of like the good group amount of players in the NBA that are, you know, they're not all that, you know. This the vast majority compared to the top. I still think there's a massive gap. There's a gap between the top of the top. You can even say that the top 30 we can easily get, you know, when we do our top 10 we always struggle, right? We can easily do a list of 30 players that are probably maybe even more. Like, you can wind it. How many players are in the NBA? Like 500, 400. Like, you know, it's like, to say that the rest of the world's not catching up, I thought it was a bit like, clearly they are, you know,
it's I mean, obviously they're catching up, obviously. Like, this
so I still think they caught up in 2000.
True.
Caught up in 2000.
Yes,
but I think there's been continuous progress since then as well.
But the general feedback and feeling from French Twitter, I was like, you know, there's lack of better description, was that, look, before the game, there's nothing to be like. Obviously, KD is gonna dominate. We know it's gonna do that, but like, it's not like in 2000 when we went into the finals in Sydney and we played against Team USA, and it was like they're clearly 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 classes over us. Like, we had good European players at the time, like top European players, when not many of them were playing the NBA at the time. But like, since then, the last 21 years, like, there's a huge amount of French players that went through that NBA system and then like US system, and they had from, you know, role-playing roles, you know, like bench guys to starters, you know, winning NBA titles and stuff. So it's not like they were just there for fun and signing contracts and trying to send the NBA to the French market. But you know, there was a significant role. So these guys are not looking. My point is, they're not looking at NBA players the same way we were 20 years ago. No. It's not like stars. Now it's like, well, we play with them. Like, you see Fournier, for example. His attitude is like, I play with these guys every week. I said it last week already, but it's like there's no longer that let's be afraid or
they're not
star in their eyes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was that, you know, it's like.
But then I also don't think that he's saying that like Team USA is light years ahead or anything. I think what he's saying is we still won. Like, we're still good enough to win. I think in his eyes, they've caught up when they beat them. And him individually, he hasn't lost. But also, he's come up through Team USA at a time when they sat down and were like, actually, we're going to build Team USA like a France or an Australia or an Argentina. We're going to have people within the program. We're going to put together a pool of players. They're going to come together every summer and play together. And then we're going to pick the team out of those players that join the pool. The problem that's happened is the last, I don't know, maybe since the training for 2016, is things like injuries have gotten in the way, and then a bunch of players have pulled out, right? There's not the same level of commitment. When they originally made that pool leading up to the, I think it was the 2008 Olympics, they made them commit to the Olympics like 2 years in advance. They told, I think it was even 06, the World Cup in 06, at the time, the World Championships. Because I think Kobe has a World Championship title.
Yes, he does.
From 06. And they made them commit. They were like, you do this tournament, but you also have to commit to the Olympics. And it was that level of commitment that they had to show so that they could build them just like any other team. And I think that approach needs to be re-implemented, so that USA doesn't end up with a team like the team that we saw going to the World Cup last time out.
But I think that needs to happen with the coaching staff as well. It's not just
it does
to do that.
It does. It's been the same. The coaching staff at the Olympics is the same one that was at the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think the one thing they have maybe to look at is the numbers of players in that pool. Right now it's 57. That might be slightly wide, getting down to like 30 maybe.
Yeah. I mean, but when you've got people that haven't committed and won't commit, but I don't know. I mean, this Olympics was a bit special as well, because we're coming back from
COVID,
bubble season to a condensed season to overlapping sort of stuff as we've already gone over. Like, I think that this one in particular, I mean, Space Jam as well, we can't forget.
I mean,
we have to give space for that.
But how Dame was able to juggle both, I don't know. It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
But even the group stages were different. It's three groups of 4 teams. Before it used to be 4 groups of 4. So it's like there's less teams in the final phases. There's also very different. Like it's the first time they did a draw also to avoid what's teams doing what Spain does, which is choosing to play in the quarterfinals. That's another story. But it's like it's everything is a bit different. And the Olympics is only 2 weeks long this week, right? This time around. So usually it's to be 3 weeks or for a month. No, 3 weeks. I can't.
3 weeks, but the basketball is normally only 2.
Yeah. I don't know. They usually used to have way more games than that. I believe.
It's been a good tournament. I've thoroughly enjoyed it personally. Watching all the different teams. I don't know if you guys have managed to watch any highlights of the bronze medal game. Yeah. If you want to say what happened there, I haven't caught anything.
Well, you can sum it up real quick. Let me pull up the stats real quick. Hang on, if I go back to Slovenia, Australia, so it ended up 107-93. Another high scoring game with Slovenia. Funny enough, Luka showed up on the court with his left wrist / arm bandaged up, because obviously if you watch the France-Slovenia game, he went for a ball and hit the plexiglass that is around the commenting teams, the announcers, whatever, and then really hit it hard. Which is why he didn't shoot the ball in the fourth quarter, or one of the reasons. So he started the game a bit cold and couldn't shoot. Like you can see, he was bothered, but then suddenly warmed up and ended up playing okay. I'm just trying to remember the team comparison. I'm getting the stats. There were 6 lead changes, so it went back and forth in the first half. specifically. And then after that, Australia sort of pulled away from Slovenia. They were up by 17 at one point, and I think the biggest league for Slovenia was about 4 or 5 points. Yeah, and then Paddy Mills took over basically. He scored 20. How many did I say he had? Like 42 in the end.
42, 9 assists.
42. So he scored 20 in the first half, 22 in the second half. Shooting 70% twos and 25% threes. Bad, man. And then who else played well? Joe Ingles scored 16. Dante Exxon, 12 again. And everyone's new favorite player, Jock Landell, had 14, along with 3 assists, 3 assists. So he was doing all right. He was doing all right. And Thibault had a dunk. If you're trying to see it, I think it's either at the end of the first quarter or at the end of the half. I think just to beat the buzzer at the end of the second quarter, literally stole the ball from Luka Doncic, and then he basically jumped from the free throw line to a hand. That was pretty sick. And obviously, so then second half was pretty much of the same, with Australia, build a lead, and they kept shooting, they kept relying on Paddy Mills for scoring, and then it became a little bit more physical, and which led the Slovenian team to contest every single play, every single call. They were on the ref. They did not stop talking, which takes me to what I was going to say about Slovenia. It's like they need to concentrate. You guys need to stop talking. They did the same against France, like every single call, and we're like, partly, I think there's one reason why they lost the game against France is that they could not stay in the game with just like stop arguing with the refs. It's not going to change. They're not going to change their calls. They're not there to discuss. They're not there to talk to you. Just keep playing. And like, as much as I've Doncic, like he actually got on my nerves. Like those last 2 games, he kept looking at the refs, kept talking to them, kept getting tech fouls.
In the NBA as well.
It does that in the NBA. Like he took it to another level of BS. That was like he pretty much spent the last 2 games just talking to the ref, just talking, like, and looking at them and giving them dirty looks, like going into timeouts, arguing with the ref instead of going back and sit down. It's just like it was, and I know why, because it means a lot to him to win something with Slovenia. He'll win something eventually. Like he already won the Euro. Was it 2017? Yeah. He'll do well. Like they've showed they could play. Like if they add a couple more players, I think Dragic, not Zoran. What's the guy? Goran. I think he's retired from international basketball now. I think he's too old.
I thought that's why he wasn't there.
I think, yeah. But again, it's Slovenia. They have a good bunch of young players also on their under 18 team, so they'll be all right for the future. And then Australia, first medal after finishing 4th, I think, the last 4 Olympic Games.
That's crazy. Something maybe not 4 Olympics, but maybe 4 tournaments.
4 tournaments. Yeah, no, you're right. The World Cup they finished 4th, and then the Olympics before they finished 4th, and I think maybe it's like the alternate. Yes, maybe one World Cup, one Olympics, another World Cup, and then this Olympics were there. And they were crying. They were just like so emotional when they won that. Felt like they won the gold, but I guess it was something to do with Baines being in hospital. I guess they wanted to win that for him as well. And you saw
Mills is like last one, probably last Olympics.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, there is some talk of him sticking around for one more, but
how old is he now?
We'll see. 32 or 3.
Okay, maybe he could do another one. I thought
could do one more. Yeah, could do one more. Depends on what shape he is. He could maybe be a backup point guard if Ben Simmons shows up. Yeah.
Forgot that he's there.
Power forward Simmons. But yeah, great tournament. I've enjoyed it. Hope y'all have.
I feel like the best 3 teams won the medals. Like looking at the group stages and everything. Like, and it was good to see Slovenia go far, but I just don't think they're deep enough.
No, their bench is just too weak. A bit slightly the same with Australia. Like they have a good 7, but then when you go deeper than that, there's less talent. Like the talent wise, it drops drastically. It's just like there's no backup for certain players. And the same with Slovenia. Suddenly it's like starting five, strong as fuck. And then suddenly it goes, yeah. But the best 4 teams were in the top 4, at least, to me, from the tournament.
Yeah. With all respect to Spain.
With no respect to Spain, no.
So the women's will finish tonight. It's probably finished by the time you're listening to this. But I went and watched the semi-finals and was thoroughly entertained. I even caught part of the quarterfinals, the game between Japan and Belgium. Me and Tom were waxing lyrical over. It's an incredible game. Like lead changes every possession, basically the whole game through. And then Japan hit a big 3 and Belgium had the chance to respond but couldn't make the bucket. And that was that. Japan then went through to face France in the semi-final. And
they waxed us.
Yeah.
That was brutal. That was brutal as fuck. But no, Japan was, oh my God, they're so impressive though. And not just Japan, China as well. I thought both teams play very similarly. Like they just go through them, not in a bad way, but they go through the motions on offense. Like they know where to be at the right moment. I thought China would go a little bit further than that, but they didn't in the end. But Japan, man, they're just it's there's some players it's just pure poetry.
Yeah. In particular, their point guard, where is it? Machida. Yeah. Now, we've seen this type of player in the NBA and other places before, right? Very small. I don't know what her listed height is. She was just dribbling everywhere. Like no one could stay in front of her. And she was just dribbling through people, getting anywhere she wanted to on the court, and then kicking it out. Like she dominated the game, but only took 9 shots. And I didn't know whether to compare her more to Nash when it was just him and shooters and a roll man, or to Rondo, right? Because of how little she actually looked at the rim. She did make 1 3, which was very deep, but you could tell that like that's not her game. She finished the game, Mike, with 18 assists. 18. Easy. She had 12 in the first half. She only played 27 minutes. 18 assists.
18 assists. 27.
It was nuts. She was just getting anywhere and everywhere and just finding people. And every time they knocked it down, it was like she had a purple badge in 2K for assists. Definitely. It was nuts. It was just crazy.
And then that game, the French coach refusing to play small ball, which she was highly criticized again on French Twitter. It was like, look, you're playing against Japan. They're moving the ball so quickly and they are really fast, and all of them can dribble. And then she insisted on playing with taller girls. And it's just really weird to see. It was like no adjustments were made. But again, they were down by like 20 at some point, like 25 even. I can't remember the exact number. It was like, so it didn't make much of a difference, but it was like you could adjust early. But yeah, no, Japan it was one of those games where they just hit absolutely everything. It was like,
they finished 11 for 22 from 3.
Just chucking it.
Tough to win a game when your opponent shoots 50% from 3. But yeah, that was it's a shame it was a blowout because I was hoping for a closer game, but it was an incredible performance to watch. And then the other semi-final was USA versus Serbia, which was also another dominant performance from the USA women's team. The triumvirate of teammates, I think it's who is it? It's Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, and there's one more is it Aja Wilson? No, it's not Aja Wilson. It is Lloyd, who will play on the same team. And they, like the way that they play with each other, you can tell that they have that on-court chemistry. They know where each other's favorite spots are and things like that. And yeah, Sue Bird in particular, in terms of playmaking, and then Brianna Stewart just blew the game open early. And then they just sort of went through the motions until the end of the game. They have their own Gobert equivalent in Brittany Griner. 6'7". if you look at the dunk statistics in the WNBA history, I think Lisa Leslie has like 1 or 2 ever. Candace Parker has 2 dunks ever. And then Brittany Griner's the leading dunker in WNBA history with 14. And it's just like, they've just never seen anything like her in the women's game. But she has good feel as well. She ended up 6 for 11, but it's just her influence, right? They throw the ball to her and everyone just panics. Everyone just panics.
Yeah.
So they'll be expected to win, but it's going to be interesting to watch Team USA try and guard Machida and the gang. Like, will they continue to like go inside and try and play some bully ball? And will they be able to keep Japan from knocking down 3-point shots?
We'll see. I don't know. Like I said last time, there's a massive gap for me between Team USA and the rest. Still in women's basketball, so I don't see an upset. But if they're red hot for 3, why not? There might be a chance. But you have to be like shooting 75%, and hit 15. But
there was always that sort of extra edge when it's the home nation as well, right? They just take it up another notch.
The commentator was saying that their coach can't speak Japanese and all the players are Japanese. So he just, when they have timeouts, he just like rallies them. It's just like they just play off his emotion.
No,
basically.
That's not true. I watched 2 Japanese games. The guy actually looked it up because I was like, this guy is it's really weird. He's an American guy from, I believe, LA or anywhere the West Coast. He speaks Japanese. Like, he's been in Japan for like 20 years. So I don't know if he's the assistant coach.
To commentary.
Yeah, don't listen to them because he's literally on the bench. And I was like, so I was watching a timeout. Suddenly I'm like, is that guy? Because I was listening to the coaches and what he's trying to say. I was expecting that it's not unknown. Like, the Belgian coach speaks English because they have 3 languages in Belgium, or 2, 3. That's like they're always trying to go for the things like there's going to be a player that's maybe on the Serbian team, for example. The coach is Serbian, so she does all the remarks in Serbian. But then you have somebody that'll translate from Serbian to English to the American player that is there that doesn't speak the language. And then I was expecting for Japan, I was like, this white dude that looks out of place there, and I'm like, damn, he can speak. So no, definitely he was there. Like, he was explaining. That's dope. He's 20 years there. I think he was assistant coaching and he was a player as well. He played he played 1 season for the Hawks in Atlanta, 94. I just looked at that this morning.
Nice.
And then played mainly in Europe and Japan. So
good.
Definitely speaks.
Tom with freaking research over here.
I did research.
Nice.
Because I was looking at it and I was like, this is really funny. I need to know who that guy is, because I was like, what's his story? It's like, what's his story? Yeah, exactly. I love this shit. It's really cool.
That's really good. That is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Can I just one of the USA women's team that stood out to me was Chelsea Gray. She's I think she's like one of the wings, but she just reminded me like I don't know, like of playmaking big. She just has all of these like intricate, like nice little dump in passes and stuff like that. So she's one to watch.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Dave, don't forget the bronze medal game that happened this afternoon or at lunchtime. What was it? Afternoon. Between the women's basketball.
Earlier
today. So they had
France versus
Serbia.
Serbia. How did it go?
France won by, I believe, 10-ish points, something like about around 10. Where they it was pretty close. So it was a remake of the last final of the Euro between France and Serbia that Serbia won. But like they won by like 15 or 20 or something. It was like like one of those games where France goes crazy and they just butcher everything. But anyway, it was a close game all along, and then France was on top most of it. And then they blew the lead wide open at one point when they were up by 20 in the either at the end of the third or early in the fourth. And then so I thought it was over, but then Serbia went on a run and they came back to, I think they cut it to 9 or 8. But then France, thanks to my new love, Gabby Williams, look her up. She's Franco-American.
We know.
I told my wife, I said, look, this you got to go. No, I didn't. But
I did make sure to see the back of her jersey after I saw her from the front.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yeah, you did. So shout out to Gabby Williams, because she's a great. Also, she's just a great player. Like the way she plays is just amazing. But yeah, France went with a bunch of threes. They took care of the clock. They just literally almost dribbled out on most possessions. Like, or took like a bank shot with one to go. They made a couple, which is highly killer for the other team. And then they just won it comfortably. I don't know, but like they were the better team.
15 points.
Yeah, 15. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a good game, and then it was good for France to win something. I think in the Olympics as well for the women's. I think they always finished fourth as well. They would been like the Australian team, like always at that spot. Yeah, that's it. That's about it with that.
Yeah, cool.
Gabby Williams.
All right. Yeah, so I guess that's that on that. Other stuff around the Olympics before we go. So much has been going on. I've been watching more track and field. Commiserations, but congratulations for a silver medal in the 4x100 to the GB men. I don't know if you guys saw the race, but they had a 1 or 2 meter lead when the last person got the baton and ended up losing to who? You guessed it, the Italians, man.
I'm Italian.
Did you guys get flashbacks?
Because we had a lead and we lost the lead, and then at the end, heartbreak,
last second. Yeah.
Anyway, Forza Italia and all that good stuff.
Fingers crossed on a doping
scandal. They have won enough. I think we'll agree that Italy needs to chill now. You guys have to calm down.
Smash it. It's the 100-meter gold winner, right? He's just
Jacobs. Yeah.
He was on that team, right? On the 4 times.
Yeah, he did. He did the second leg. He did the second leg. But yeah. Well done to them. Jamaica won the women's equivalent, the 4x100. Seen a bunch of world records as well. To go with what Jose said last time, there was a world record in the 400-meter hurdles, which was an amazing race.
The Norwegian guy.
Yeah. That race was ridiculous.
But I think it was the first and second both would have beat the
old world record comfortably as well. And the person that finished in third place would have won any of the last like 5. Oh, no, sorry. Any 400-meter hurdle Olympics in history. Damn. Except for this one. And they finished third, and not a close third either.
Can you imagine that though? Can you imagine that? It's like the equivalent of I don't know if it's an equivalent for that, but it's like, dude, it's like you've ran one of the best races in history
of all time. Finished
third
because the second and first best were in the same race. It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. It's wild. Allyson Felix became joint leader in most gold medals for Team USA with 10. She joins Carl Lewis on 10, and she wins her first medal as a mother.
Cool. All
right. Yeah, and then the climbing was climbing.
I've seen some highlights.
It's crazy.
Very intense.
I haven't seen this yet. This is the one I'm gonna go back and look at the highlights because it sounds freaking dope. I listened to the last pod and I was like, yeah, that actually sounds incredible.
It's nuts. Yeah, go watch it. It's cool.
Did we mention the high jumpers sharing a gold medal?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah,
I think that was for me. That's still the coolest moment in the Olympics. That's my favorite.
It's just the joy as well out of it. Like that was special. Skateboarding park.
Skateboarding's cool.
Like the 12, 13, and 19-year-old one for the women's event.
Insane.
Yeah.
That was a GB medal, wasn't it? The girl that you mentioned coming in.
Yes.
Sky Brown.
Yeah. Got a bronze.
That's dope because she, like, in preparation for when it was going to happen in 2020, she had like this huge accident, fractured skull. And like I can't remember. I think she had like bleeding in her lung or something. It was
something
horrific.
bad.
I thought she was going to be done. So to come back and do that, and she's still only 13, you're just like,
yes,
oh my God.
It's just nuts. How are they so young? Like, where are the 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds that need to be like, hold on, I'm better than you. Like, hold my drink. Step back. Come on, we're not having any of that. But yeah, I mean, props to them. Like, it's been really impressive to watch them perform out there in a new event. Like, it's cool to have a new event there. I'm trying to think what else I've seen. That might be it for me personally. Don't know if you guys have seen anything else.
No, I think you've summed it up. I don't think.
I was just gonna say shout out to the trans athletes that are having I know it's a very controversial topic, but there's the Canadian women's team player who's non-binary that is the first medal winning out trans person.
Medal in what sport? Sorry,
soccer.
I watched that actually. The women's football final. Horrendous penalty shootout. One of the worst I've ever seen in my life. But hey, congratulations to Team Canada.
And to Team Brazil also, who won the final today in the
retained
against Spain.
Yeah.
Oh, 2-1. It's not been a good Olympics for them.
Oh, actually, one other highlight as well. Sorry, glossing over that.
Go on.
Another teenager as well. The women's diving. I can't remember what height it was. It might have been 10 meters. The 13-year-old woman, the girl that got solid perfect 10s. And all three dives as well.
Chinese?
Was she the Chinese girl?
They don't
I've
play.
Seen one dive. They don't mess around. Just like, did you see one of the dives? She went in. There's barely any water. Like anything splashed out. I was like,
she's a tiny person.
It's a mad sport. I love it.
I've never seen any event where it's scored like that get 3 in a row perfect 10s. Like every judge.
They should have got D-Wade on that one to go. That's a 9.
9.5.
9. That's a 9.
It's a 7 for me.
It's a 7 for me, man.
The Russian judge, right?
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. I actually love the diving. I haven't watched enough of it. I watched some of the synchronized diving in the first week, the women's in the first few days. But that reminded me that I also caught some of the synchronized swimming in the pool. You know, the most famous feat at the Olympics.
Yeah,
got to wave them toes around. But what they can do, like upside down in a pool, is just nothing short of remarkable. I don't even understand how it works, like physically. It's crazy.
But you know, that's the thing with the Olympics. Like, you see a lot of those sports that you would never pay attention to outside of basketball and maybe football, and like maybe you have a third sport or whatever. But it's like when you see the technicality and the like how good they are at it, and you're just like, there's a bunch of questions I'm always asking myself. Like, how did you get into these sports? How did you find out? And like B. There's a bunch of questions, but like, it's always not surprising me. Like, I'm always like, because you see football games all the time, you see basketball, and it's these are games that are, you know, played all over the world, and millions of people are, you know, practicing and then getting good at and stuff. But those sports that are super, like, again, diving and all this stuff. It's like, how did you find out you were that good, and how did you get into it, and how, like, it's just, I love to have one of those guys on as a guest one, just to ask a bunch of questions. It's just, I think it's remarkable that and how good they are technically at it, and it's just and they're very inspiring. So
I think it's always dope as well when you see like sports that you're kind of vaguely aware of, and you've tried like once, like something like table tennis, and then you're like, this is that at like expert level, and you're like, what? That is a different sport. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, you see them sometimes like going like table tennis. Like sometimes they go bang, 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 and then suddenly like behind the back, and you're like, I don't have time to comprehend what I've just seen. That guy's just done that in the Olympics, like against another professional. Just like relax, bang, bang, and you're like,
And both of them are like 10 feet away from the actual table.
Yeah, nowhere near it. It's insane.
It's actually mental.
It's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah.
The boxing's been cool. That's the other thing as well.
Okay, cool. Some of that. We got a medal, didn't we, in one of the lighter weights?
I think we got gold.
Yeah, dude from Birmingham.
Yeah. Yafai? I think he's called Yafai. Anyway. Saw the headline, need to see the highlights.
Yeah, and then I saw some of the cycling as well. I think we got some medals, but a lot of the races that we used to win at the Olympics in cycling, we've come second, and the winners have set world records. Like I think the Netherlands team took one, the German team took one. And
wasn't it in 2012 that Team GB like crushed everything in cycling, right? I think 2012 was like the apex
and
of
16
Team
to a great extent.
16 as well.
Yeah,
okay, 16 too.
Yeah.
Hang on, it's my turn. You talk Team GB. I want to just shout out to the French team also. It's like all the indoor sports. We won handball, volleyball. We had the men in the finals, women winning the bronze. There was another sport. I think these are the only three main. Volleyball.
And that's the France.
And that's it. That's the French part. Goodbye. Thank you, Spain, for coming.
Thank you from our French correspondent.
Back from Paris.
Now let's talk about sailing. Team GB. In the coccyx.
Sailing.
I can't watch it.
But sailing is gangster as well. Did you not see it? Like the moves they make. Like they cut and undercut each other. Like, oh shit. Like they look at each other and they're like, I don't like that move you just pulled on me. It's shit.
The Luigi death stare.
Damn.
Oh man. Anyway, it's been great. Should we do one more?
We can do on Tuesday. We can do the Tuesday? Oh,
women's game.
We can do the final, and I don't know, maybe like a roundup of. We should do our starting five, like the you know how they do usually in the Olympics or the World Cups. They have
I'll pick our Olympic team.
The starting five Olympic, like the best team on the go. Whatever.
How many times can you write Luca?
Well, it's Luca, Katie. I mean, now I think you can put Paddy Mills, Ricky Rubio, Katie, and Luca, and then a five. I don't know if you want to. It doesn't have to be position. I think it's positionless. I'm not sure.
Cool. Player of the tournament and all that.
Either Fournier or Gobert. Let's go for the French guy in there. Oh, Batum for his block. Bang!
That was a great moment. That was a really great moment.
Dude, I was putting my son down for his nap, so I was literally watching that game in silence. And when Batum blocked him, I went. I cannot shout right now. This is frustrating. I cannot shout.
Yeah, that was a great moment. That was like an Olympic moment. Like people are going to remember this Olympics for that block, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
So I think that wraps things up. We have been the Grit and Grind Basketball Podcast. Remember to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen. Get us on social media at Grit and Grind Pod. I have been your host, David Sagoe. That has been Thomas Arnal. And that...
Goodbye.
Oh yeah, say bye first. Sorry, my bad.
Goodbye.
Adieu.
Au revoir.
And that has been Michael Downey.
Good night.
Bye.
And we're out of here.